I don't know. It's hard to say. For me, I don't know if so this isn't just the tools. So the $97 is also the armature set as well. So just know that actually 97 is good. But if it was $97 for just this, I would say, no, don't do that. But it's for everything that you need for the class. So just so you know that that's there for you when you're ready. So again, if you guys have already paid a course fee for this, contact your advisor and say, hey, I want a refund for that, because you're just gonna input that cash into this, which you're gonna need, because we'll need that for next week for sure. There's that. All right. This is kind of supplemental. It'd be great if you guys had a drill. You have to drill through a board. You have to be able to put a hole in a board. If you don't have access to a way to get a hole through a board, you're gonna have to figure out a way to get a hole in a board. So you're gonna need a drill and a drill bit somehow. Maybe borrow one, or I don't know. Got to get creative with this one, because I don't know how else to put a hole in a plywood board. Everything else is you can kind of work around a little bit. Like a hammer, you can use something for a hammer. The pipe wrench, you don't need a pipe wrench. Don't worry about the pipe wrench. Don't buy one. If you have a wrench, that's great. But don't worry about the pipe wrench. Wire cutters, again, you could probably get away with like a really good pair of scissors to cut wire from. We don't really need a lot of wire. We're not going to be cutting a lot of wire. So hopefully you got something that is similar to this. The most important part, I think, for us, which is the drill and the driver here to be able to mount your flange. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then again, this is your board here. This is what you should be looking for. So in your kit, you should get a 12-inch, 6-inch, 2-inch, and all these bad boys right here. And then all this wire, 20 feet of wire here. And that is about it. Okay, those are our supplies. What else? So we got core supplies. I got armature. Shapes. So in here, just so you know, this is where I put the downloads for the shapes. So after you leave today, what you guys are going to be doing is going in and looking at this, and I will be demoing this later on today, just so you guys get a sense of how to do this, of this project right here, the cube, cylinder, and the egg. Easy money. Actually, I say it's easy. It's actually, it can be challenging. So nothing I, when I say things are simple, even for me, it'll be hard, but I would say that it takes a lot of work with the material to get yourself up to a place where you can just like run through some of these forms. And sometimes it's being able to utilize your tools. So we're going to go over how to use tools in the right way. Images of armature. So this is our armature thing. What's this one right here? Oh, that's just the materials and then introduction. Okay. So let me just make sure I'm going through all this stuff. So in this class, we will be working with nude models. Just know that you guys are all going to get images of models. Just know that we work with nude models. It's obviously it's going to be two-dimensional images. It's going to be challenging because not having that three-dimensional kind of connection with the model, it separates you from the forms that you're going to actually be doing. So just know that the models that we have are on a rotation. So you'll be able to rotate all of our models around. But again, it's on screen. So it's a little bit limited in that way. If you are local here and you want to work at the cannery, you can, or not the cannery, I'm sorry, at 410 Bush. You can come and work at 410 Bush if you like. So just know that is an option for you. There's a room, I think, on the 3rd floor that we have open for you guys if you want to work on site. You cannot work I think you might even be able to do the Zoom class there if you wanted to. I just can't be there. And if you are going to work there, you have to go ahead and set up a schedule with the department and say, hey, I'm going to be here this time. And I think you work through, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. So if you guys don't know how to do that. Oh, where am I? I'm over there. All right, so how the class will run. So essentially the class, we start in, I do demos, we're going to watch videos and then sculpt together. And then I will give critiques based on the work that you do. So typically I will ask you guys to make sure that you come in with photos of your work. So every week, please have at the beginning of class, photo your work and have it posted or post at the beginning of class. So then I can go through and start looking at everybody's work and doing critiques. So that's basically how we run. So I'll, on an on-site class, typically I do all of the grading while you guys are working on your figures, right? So I'll grade this and I'll come over here and demo that. So the one benefit of this too is that you can post your work earlier than the class. So then you can get critiques before class. So again, through the week, always be posting, and then I'll always be looking for those emails, and then I can get you guys information faster. Okay, so just know that I will have that open for you. What else? Let's go into attendance. Attendance here, again, it's really hard to say. It's like, late's not late. Just be here the best you can. Try to be here at the beginning of class, and because it's kind of difficult to go back in this scenario, because normally if we're on site, I can work with you individually, but here I have to stop the whole class and we have to go back and then bring you back up into where you need to be. So just know that if you're coming in late, it's going to be kind of a negotiation of timing, because I need to get everybody through a certain amount of information. So please try to be on time. It doesn't mean it can't be done. It just, it's not the best. Otherwise, try to be here. I think after 3 absences in a row, they're going to drop you from the class. So on that 4th one, you'll probably get dropped from the class if you don't show up. So just know that's part of the deal. And you probably shouldn't. So if you're gone 3 weeks in a row, there's something wrong that you need to deal with, and just kind of deal with your stuff. And then also contact me. So your best case scenario, let's say you're having a tough time, something's going on, you can't spend as much time on this as you thought. Email me, let me know where you're at so I can advocate for you through the administration and know where you're at. So maybe you're going to say, oh, wait, I need, I got this thing going on for 3 weeks. I'll be back on that 4th week. I'll get that work done. Let's work on a schedule. Then I can advocate for you. But if you just disappear, I can't advocate. And then if you come back, it's harder to say, well, you kind of missed, a quarter of the class at that point. So just know I'm here, and I love it when people let me know what's up. It helps me to work with you. So sculpting is very challenging. Okay, so again, photography is a big thing, and you'll probably get this in a lot of your classes. Just try to make sure when you're photographing your work, make sure your background is clear, right? So it's really hard to get and negotiate images when your background is really messy, like mine. Like this whole side of my house, like this whole thing is just like, I would never photograph against this background because you won't be able to see it. Make sure your lighting's good, and then we will do our best to do the critiques that we from the images. So my only access to your work is through images. So really spend the time to really show your work the best it can be shown. Don't just take like a really quick little iPhone shot or whatever shot. Just spend some time. If you're going to use the iPhone, fine. Just make sure things are lit, make it look pretty. If you can, put it in Photoshop and kind of like, I don't know, you don't want to adjust your piece, but you can kind of clean it up, the background anyway. So please do your best to turn your assignments in on time. I love those things on time. Here's another thing, on time is great. It makes my life easy. Let's say you're getting behind with some of your work. Just know, again, email me. I'm having a tough time with this project, or it might be a week before I get my clay. So some of you guys don't even have your clay yet. It might be a few weeks before you get it. So let's talk about, okay, this is what I'm going to expect, but just know that I will take late work all the way up to midterm, right? So let's say that you're running a little bit behind with your material, getting this or that. Just know that's totally fine. I'm going to grade what you got when you turn it in. Now, after midpoint, if you're still having problems with your material and you're kind of it's slowing you up a little bit, it's going to start kind of clogging you up and it starts to snowball. Do your best, I would say, within this first week, 2 weeks, try to do your best to at least get your armature built, get that clay, start working those forms the best you can. If you don't have tools, you can double something else for a tool, but really try to get a bag of clay, and then we can work from there. All right. So here's the supplies. I think all of the these are some extra things, and I'll go over this in a minute when I start demoing the geo forms that we're going to sculpt today. So basically, what I would suggest for you guys all to get: plastic tub, to put your clay in, a wet rag, like a rag of some kind. It could be any kind of rag, but you want to have something you can get wet and then put over your clay. Some trash bags. So when you're sculpting, you want to be able to put something over your piece, make sure it stays wet. So this is going to be a problem for that air dry clay. So you don't want to use air dry clay unless you're really particular about the way that you're kind of closing that up, right? So make sure that if it's going to be the air dry clay or some other form, just make sure that you understand your material and how it dries, how it shrinks. And this clay that we're going to do or play with or sculpt, whatever, it shrinks if it dries, and it's really important that you keep your clay wet. So I can't even express to you how important it is, because I've had people last semester and previous. Sorry, I just had a smoothie. Good thing you guys aren't here. I'm burping all over the place. So I had people that worked really hard on their piece, and then their leg dried out almost like because they're in hotter environments, Arizona. I don't know, like you're in dry environment. Oh man, you got to be really careful about your stuff there, because it just soaks out of you. It soaks out of the material. So you got to be really careful. So spray bottles, have yourself a little spray bottle and just make a point to spray down your piece every 5-10 minutes. Just give it a little spritz, and I'll go over all that stuff. It's just a working method of working with the material and understanding the flow of clay. And unfortunately, we work with a water-based clay in here, and water-based clay shrinks and dries. I like using the oil-based clays in my other stuff. So I got pieces that I've been working on for like 6 months, never covered it once. But we don't work with oil-based clay in this class. We use water-based clay because it builds really fast. It's easy. You pull it down and you start back up. So anyway, just understand your material is what I'd really suggest. Paper towels, all that stuff is kind of self-explanatory. Masking tape, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. A lot of the stuff yes, sure. It's great if you got some masking tape and paper towels. I'm sure you guys can figure that one out. And that's about it. Core supplies. So that's about it. Are there any questions at this point? Nothing? I'm just talking through the day, trying not to make you guys go to sleep. Again, I don't even like to hear my own voice, and I'm in a room by myself with you guys right here. So I feel bad that you guys have to listen to this.
Well, so we sketch everything we do first, or no?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Moving forward, we're not really sketching this class too much. I would say that our sketches will come later when we do the fantasy head for the final. So this class is all sculpting. It's all hands-on. It's all, yeah, there's not a lot of drawing in here unless you want to. There, I would say like a really good, healthy way to move forward in your careers as artists is to not only sculpt or not only draw, but draw and sculpt and paint, because all of those things feed each other, and it feeds your information, it feeds your pieces, it feeds your artistic practice. And then all of a sudden you become more and more fluid with everything. When you're able to draw something, it really does open you up. But in this class, don't worry about that. It's not worth it. Not really worth it. Any other questions? It's only 2:30 right now, and we're here till 6. Got nothing going on for me?
I was just wondering, because you said you were recording the classes. I didn't know where on the course the recording.
Thank you for saying that. I will post. So it takes probably about an hour or two for the ones and zeros to be squished together. And so once I get that email back from Zoom, I post it on our site. So I'll put like a Zoom link recording on our LMS. So you can always access all the videos there, and you can always access the media content that is already on there, which is basically going to be the same thing that I'm doing, but maybe a little differently, not live at that point. But Samantha, good question.
Thank you.
Right on. So with that,
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah, who's that?
It's Ava. Why did you get into sculpture to begin with?
Oh, me.
What was it about it?
What a nice question. Aren't you? That's sweet. No one's ever asked me that since 2007. Thank you.
Well, I can tell that you're very passionate about it. So I was curious, what is it that interested you?
So here, I can give you, let me go on my background a little bit so you guys know who and what I've done and why I'm here. So essentially, I graduated with my bachelor's of fine arts in painting from the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque years ago. And I moved to LA shortly after that. And I was kind of a struggling artist out there doing painting. And I got an in with some friends at the Surf Channel doing stop motion animations for them, doing hand-drawn kind of sketching. So I don't know if you guys know Volcom or those guys. So at the beginning, like years ago in I would say like 2005, 2004 or 5, they started doing like some hand-drawn sketching, and it was like a very DIY animation stuff. And that was kind of my thing, but I started doing a lot of animations for the Surf Channel, doing commercial work. And then I realized really quickly that, I was a painter. Foremost, I was a painter that made, paintings, and everybody wanted me to animate what it is that I was painting. So I found out really quick that I didn't know what I was doing. I was working way too hard, not making enough for the amount of time that I was putting into these projects. So I actually came to the academy to figure out what it was that I was doing in animation. I wasn't even a sculptor at that point. My paintings actually from the academy were not the academy, but the University of Mexico were very three-dimensional. I was doing installation work. It was much more like not classical realism at all. It was more like just installation and sound installations with speakers, and so it was much different at that point. So I came here to the academy and I took one figure modeling class, which is basically this class with Jane, this woman Jane, who used to teach it, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the process of being. It's almost like meditation for me. So I was going from a very commercial kind of like doing like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drawings to being able to focus really on one thing. And the figure modeling started becoming like more apparent in my work, like more of an interest. And then I came here for graduate school. I started in the animation program. I started 3D modeling, 2D animation. It wasn't my shtick. I had one teacher tell me, he's like, well, unless you're passionate about it, like, don't do it, because there's going to be 1,000 other people that are going to be sitting behind you that are passionate about it. So if you're doing this just for money, it's probably not the best thing to be doing, only in that you plateau really quick, and you don't want to plateau in your career. So I followed my passion, which was more the fine arts. So I got into figure modeling, and then I took an anatomy course here. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome, because I can really focus in on my work. And I started doing work in that way.
You like painting? You like sculpture more than painting?
You know what? It's yes and no. It's all part of the same thing for me at this point. So painting to me is I feel like, no, this is my own personal feeling, is painting is so core to my value as an artist that I never took a class in painting, because I didn't want anyone to mess up my core value or my expression. But with sculpture, I didn't understand sculpture at all. So I took a lot of classes in sculpture to kind of get me, because it was very challenging. Painting was a little bit easier for me to kind of approach, where it's like sculpture was so challenging, but they fed each other. So at this point, like, I hardly paint anything anymore. It's all sculpture. I make, I don't know, you can see this one right here. This is a big masking tape ball. This is an old piece right here. Yeah. But that's just
I did a lot of anatomy work back there.
Yeah. And then I got this. This is a piece in process. Let's see if I can get her over here.
Okay. Also, I don't know, from my camera view, from the back it looks dark, but it don't look dark.
Yeah,
so it's like African sculpture, but it's not.
Well, I have a lot of none of this is like it's all anatomical sculpture here. And then I can show you. I actually have 2 other pieces I can show you that are polymer actually sculpt. And these are from a show I did this last year. Bring her over. This is a polymer sculpt.
Polymer? What? Okay, so give me a rough draft of what polymer is. Like what?
So polymer is a clay. It's a kid's clay that you can heat in your own oven to make it hard. And typically people make they make necklaces and jewelry. And so I did a piece, because I actually have a couple kids myself, and doing more kind of playful like projects with them led me to this material. And then I started sculpting this stuff out of it. And so this was a swimmer series I did it was an art, it was a kind of raise money for the arts here in the Bay Area. So this was a piece for that. But this is what I would say. Like, I do a lot of classical realism, and then I do this stuff where it's like just really playful material wise. But it's not about like being so specific with form, but it's really about just like playing with the material. So anyway,
polymer clay, after you bake it, it's more of a plastic feel, because it's actually the plastic polymers.
Yeah. It hardens up. Up. But I love this stuff, because you can do, I don't know, it's like a rainbow.
Yeah, they come in all sorts of different colors.
I used every one. I ordered the neon pack. So I had like every neon color I could get, and I put them all together and made something out of it.
Wow.
It glows in the dark too.
Nice.
Really?
I actually have paint that glows in the dark. A lot of the acrylic paint is actually made of like kind of plastic. So would you consider like the polymer clay, like like the difference between acrylic and oil and polymer and oil-based clay is like, do you see that the same difference or no?
Acrylic paint is actually used with a lot of polymer clays from a lot of people who do jewelry, or I've actually seen projects that would take up a whole room that people have worked on piece by piece by piece and made magnificent sculptures and things.
Yeah.
It's just huge.
Well, it's definitely,
There's like
it
a
sculpts
whole
differently.
community of it.
Yeah, there's a huge following for that polymer stuff, material, and it's great. It does sculpt differently. So this is an oil base. So again, going back to like more natural, this is a animal sculpture class I did last semester. I did this.
You muted yourself.
Yeah.
There I am. So this was for an animal sculpture class I did last semester, and this is an oil-based piece, right? So this I can keep out. It works differently to the water-based clays, but the oil-based clays, it just gives you so much time to work. Whereas I can show you a water-based sculpt. You can get this detail with water-based, but let me show you that it's a little looser. Let me show you my water-based sculpt here.
So oil clay takes a while to dry, just like oil paint.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a, oh, let me get rid of this. This is a weird little, can't even tell what it is, but this is a figure.
Yeah, I can see the torso and kind of neck part, right?
Yeah. I just threw a big old
arm for a head.
Yeah. It's just kind of a weird little thing. It's really loose, but this is like a water-based sculpt, and so it's, you know, the stuff that we use, every clay material that you use, it has a different kind of, you know, parameter. Like some of this you can get really highly detailed, some that you can't. So the water-based clay, it's a little softer, right? So this kind of detail here, it's not as like intense, or I should say it's not as fluid as this type of detail.
Yeah, that's just like painting.
Wow.
Yep, exactly.
It's just like painting.
Exactly. And you know, that's why people love the oil-based clay or oil-based paint.
Yeah.
You know, because you got time and there, but you got to understand your paint.
But is it a smell to that clay?
Yeah,
Right.
it is. Yep. There's definitely a smell.
Yeah, just like the oil paint.
So yeah, but you know, oil-based paint, I think that's when you know you're in an art studio. Is when you walk into the studio and you smell oil-based, you smell the turpentine. It just smells like art.
What's your usual
It's
process?
gonna be painful.
Oh. What's your
Well-
usual process when you create a sculpture? Do you sketch it out first, or is it something that you just sort of like come from your imagination? Like, is there like a process to planning out what you're gonna do?
Well, for me, it definitely is a process of I have the idea in the head, I guess this one, and I basically draw sometimes depending on the project. So if it's a larger scale project, I typically will draw it out first and try to work out some of the preliminary ideas on paper, especially if it's about large scale work, because you have to. With sculpture, one of the issues that we have is that with sculpture, you have to have an armature. You have, you know, it's material that needs to stand on its own. So you have to understand where it's going to be, who it's for, you know, and what you're trying to say with it. So with that all said, is like, you know, it's really good for me anyway, to draw it out first and then start working. Now, I don't think have I ever had a piece come out the same at the beginning and like I never get the same result. And my goal as an artist isn't necessarily about just reproducing my drawing exactly, but it's about the experience of creating the process and then the end goal. Like the end goal is always there. Like I want there to be a specific idea, a concept. I'm going to push for that concept. but through the process of making it, it will always evolve. So that's why it's always about drawing, sculpting, drawing, going back and forth, and then also coming at it playfully. With sculpture, it's hard to be playful, and this is what you guys are going to have probably come to, is that as you start working on things that take you, like, let's say this ox, I'm doing for like the Chinese or the New Year here.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, Chinese New Year, man. You're the ox. That's my year.
That's why.
It's so hard. You spend 1,000 hours on this thing, and then you get an idea. It's like, wait, I want to cut that in half, and I'll put a dump truck off the back of that, and then I want to drop some bones, or like have a zipper. You start getting all these ideas. It's a lot harder to commit to changing things that you've put a lot of time into. So again, it comes, that's why drawing is so important. It's really easy to quickly sketch things out, and then you make your commitments. But again, it's all, my process is my process. I don't ever push my own process on everybody because it doesn't work for everybody. But you know what? It's playful. I like to stay playful and try to allow things to evolve. I don't try to own or try to say, okay, it only has to be this. Now, this is really specific because I'm doing it for a specific event. Whereas if I'm a little bit more playful, I'll be a little bit more open to evolving the concept. So there's that. It's a little bit about my stuff. And then I can, at some point I can show you around my little studio here. It's basically my basement. So what we are going to do is we are going to build armatures. Now, who has the ability to build their armature? Has all their stuff? We have 1, 2, no. Okay, so we only have 2 people. So I'm going to run through this. So what you guys are all going to have to do is maybe, you can mute me or not mute me, but essentially we're going to build armatures, and then you're going to have to come back through and build them later for yourselves. And so for next week, you'll see how I built the armature, and then you guys can come in and, I guess, do it yourselves. I hope you guys are okay with that, because that's the way we have to do it. First week is always kind of weird. Anyway, so I'm going to show you all the parts that you're going to need. I'm going to run through it, and then we'll move forward. So let me go ahead and show you what you need. Sorry it's so dark in here. It's not the best. I'm going to change something up here. Let's see if I got it better. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to switch I just plugged in a different camera, but it's not going to read it. No, it's not going to read it. All right, whatever. All right, here we go. So what you're all going to do is you're all going to get, first of all, this armature set. Now, this armature set that you should be getting is basically this plumber's pipe, right? So it's just this plumber's pipe. I think it's 1/2-inch plumber's pipe. And what you're going to need is a T, one of these little T joints. So it has an opening on this side, and then 2 here. So it's kind of like a T. Then you're going to need an elbow. This is shaped like an elbow. This is a 1/2-inch elbow. And then you're going to need a 2-inch mini pipe right there. And then you're going to need a coupler right there. So you're going to need this whole set right there. And then we'll also need it's called a floor flange. This is a floor flange right here. You need one of these bad boys because it's going to go right here on the board that we're going to screw into. And then you're going to need one 12-inch pipe. So all this stuff is on your list of things to need or to get, to purchase. So let me just show you how to do it really quick. So for those of you that have drills or an ability to do this right here, the first thing you want to do is you want to set your flange down in the back right corner. So you're going to take this board. I've already mounted this, but I'm going to redo another one right here. You just pick a corner, but you kind of just try to get it in the back right corner.
Wait, I'm sorry. If we have our power drill, you want us to get it out and do it now? Like do what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Do it with me.
Can you give me a second to find it, or is that?
Yeah, no. I'll have a little second here.
Okay. I'm just gonna look for it, and then if I don't have it, then I don't have it. But I think my data on.
Okay. Yeah. Let me. Maybe we can all take a little break here and have a coffee here. It's 2:52, so I guess it's too late to have a coffee or too early. Jack, you're right in the right time for coffee, huh?
Yeah, kind of. I make my own coffee every day, so yeah, it's kind of.
Coffee's anytime.
Coffee is anytime. It's one of these universal truths.
True.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna try.
Somehow people I'm meeting these years, like every people I met, they don't like coffee recently. I don't know why. Just like I suddenly feel like coffee lovers are like, so rare now.
Yeah, I'm a definite coffee lover, so you won't find that a problem with me. Here, I think that camera's a little bit better. There we go. So we'll wait for everybody. So let's go ahead and do that. It's only 2:53, but we can take a little break here for my voice. I like this background that you have, Charisse. Like, how do you do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Gauzy.
Charisse, like, yeah, you're like portrait view or something. It's like your background's blurry, but you're really like.
If you go to where it has the little arrow next to your camera on the bottom left-hand corner, go to choose virtual background and just click blur instead of none, and it blurs out your background.
Oh, that is cool.
I just figure with all the children and critters in the background, I needed to.
Yeah, I hear you. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm Hazel.
You're Angel?
Hazel.
Hazel. Right on, Hazel. Nice to see you. Are you 13?
No. I'm 8.
Are you
Soon to be 9 in a few months. 5.
Oh my gosh.
5 months, I'll be 9.
Wow. So how you liking the Zoom life, Hazel?
Well,
Do you even participate in classes, or do you just play other things while the teacher thinks you're in class?
No.
participate.
I don't let my kids fool around.
Come on, Hazel.
I'm in
Hi,
the
Hazel.
blurry background.
Here, I'll get rid of this. That's funny. Yeah, I have 2 girls, and they're dealing with the Zoom life, and it's challenging.
She's really, really smart though. And
That's great. Yeah, it's helpful when they're coming in with like a good solid background, right? Or having the ability to focus on something. But I mean, that's still young, being able to sit and focus on stuff it's very difficult to do for kids.
I just want to let you know that I found my power drill in the 1/4 drill bit, so I have all.
You got everything ready?
Yes, I think I just need you to look at what you're explaining. I just need to see it again because I have my other supply.
So I'll just do it again. So again, you know, you have all these parts, right? A flange.
And then
12-inch pipe.
the one of the supplies kits came with that plywood board that you have. Is it the bigger one or the smaller one? Because it came with two. Like one's a small.
I would assume the bigger one.
Okay,
I think the smaller one you're probably going to use for your nose, the homeworks. So you want to do that. All right. So when you get your supply kit, so here's how we do it. Right. So I would just take my flange and mount it to the back corner here. Back corner is where you want it. And then I'm just going to mark it with a pin or whatever you got. I don't know if you can see that here. Where's my, what camera am I using here? It's this one. Here, let me go back to this other camera. There we go. So I just kind of mark it right up here, and then I'm just going to take a drill. Again, you can use any drill you want. I would say hammer drills are not the best. Like if you have like one of these little guys right here, it's more for drilling stuff into walls. So you don't want one of these little hammer drills. What you want is like just a regular old drill. Get a bit. So again, the way that we work the drill is the drill's got a chuck on it. So the chuck is going to open up. You get in there close. So here's our drill. If you do one way, it opens. The other way, it will close. You can either do it like this by hand. You can see how like that's closing down a little bit. Or you can always hold onto the chuck like that. So I'm just going to open that up. Take my bit. I like to hold on to it. Oh, wrong way. Make sure that. So the only trick with this one, go down. The only trick with this is that you want to, when you drill, maybe you have something underneath to catch all the wood. Second, when you're drilling it, put some back into it. Wow, that took a long time. So when you're doing this, make sure that you're going in and pulling out and keeping your finger on the little trigger there. I have to remark. This is a very unsharpened bit. So let me just go ahead and do this again. So it moved around on me. Oops. So I'm just mounting that, making sure that I'm lined up. Do that again. Normally it's a lot easier than that, but this thing's basically it's not sharp at all. Smells good though. I love the smell of like wood that's being burnt.
Wood and diesel fuel.
Oh, here we go. So it might be helpful to ream this out too. So when you're drilling, it's, you can kind of take and kind of move your drill around a little bit. It kind of reams the inside of the hole out. Anyway, so you're going to end up with like these little guys right here, nice little holes. And then you just want to mount, when you mount it, what you want to do is you want to come up from the bottom. So the bottom of the screws are going to be down here. And then here you're going to bolt the top, right? So you want to come up and then bolt down like that. And you're going to want to use a washer and a nut, right? The washer, all the washer is going to do for you on this is going to make sure this nut doesn't sink into these like little divots here. They're not essential, but they're helpful, right? So that's what you want to do. Just going to mount that on there with the bolts. I would mount another one on here, but I actually don't have any more screws. So. Where am I? This is what I do. I lose things. On my, oh, all right. So now, after you drill this board, you mount your flange on here, and you're going to screw in the 12-inch pipe. Then just hand tighten it. You don't have to worry about actually having this super tight. You just want to hand tighten it. And then you're going to put the coupler on, then the 2-inch, and then the elbow. Again, all hand tight. Don't worry about having this be super stiff yet. All right, cool. So now I'm on here. So what I need to do with this is I need to get this to angle to the center of my board. Right. So if I look at this, get down here. Higher. Okay. Trying to get in there. So basically, I'm just trying to get this in the center. So you don't want to, you basically have to get some leverage at this point because everything's kind of loose. So what I do is I take, lower. See if I can get, I'll be back here. Scoot back a little bit. So basically I'm going to sit and stand on this board, and I'm just going to pull it around. So you want actually just do this by hand, but you really want to get this tight. And I typically, when I get to this point, I use my leg here. I put my hand on here, and I kind of push in with my leg and my hand. It'll help me to kind of get this thing to the center. So when you're looking at this, it should look like this here. So you can see that this is going to the center on a diagonal. That's all you want to do. Nothing difficult. That's all there is. Right, so that is the main part of the armature. Now, what you're going to need is the wires. So I'm actually, instead of me doing this, because I actually already spun my wires, I'm going to play you guys a video of how to spin wire, because I actually already did mine. So I want you guys to see how to do this. Let me go to media. See how this can work. Okay. I'm just going to share this. And I apologize again, even if we're on site, the first day of class is always kind of just, I don't know, it's start and stop. So I'm just going to share this. And again, you guys can watch this on your own. Share sound. Okay, cool. Tell me if you get the sound. Oh, not yet.
Okay, so right now we're
Can you
going
hear that?
to spin the armature
Yeah.
wire. This is a small section of armature wire. I've cut smaller sections. I can show you on camera how to spin it and show you both ends. Right now, in your kit, you should have about 20 feet of wire that you can unroll and fold in half. Make sure that the ends are the same length, so you shouldn't have one that's way out like that, or I don't know, maybe being off like that is okay, but the closer you can get to halfway, the better. Okay. So you want to straighten that out, and you're going to grab one of the pipes from your armature kit. I took the 12-inch one, and that would be fine. And you want to have somebody hold it and basically keep it secure while you hook and spin the wire. I am using a vise right now, but you could have somebody just hold on to either side like you're water skiing, like this. Okay. So I'm going to take the wire with the side with the loop on it, and I'm going to hook it on there. And I'm going to get my drill. Okay. And this doesn't have a bit in it, so it's empty in here. This is the power button, so when I spin it, right, I pull this trigger and this part spins. This is the forward and reverse button, and I can push it to make this part, the chuck, spin in different directions. Okay, so this is the chuck, and you can see that as I spin it, right, the claws are going inside and opening, and then if I spin it this direction, the claws are closing. You can spin it by hand, but it's much quicker if you pull this trigger and hold the chuck. So here, when I hold the chuck and pull the on-off trigger, okay, it's going to open up. When I push this button the other direction and hold, it's going to close and tighten those claws. And what I'm going to do is close them a little bit so I can insert both of the wires into those claws. So I closed it a little bit too much, so I'm going to open it. And this part can be a little bit tricky. So you want to hold it pretty firmly in there and use your other parts of your hands to hold this black part, which is called the chuck. I'm going to push the reverse button, and I'm going to tighten the claws. Now all I do is have to hold this, and I'm pulling gently. I don't want to pull really hard or this part will pop right out of the claws. And I'm just going to hold and spin the wire. I don't want to spin too much. Okay? It should look like licorice, like the candy. And if you spin too much, you can kind of reverse it a little bit, but it gets a little bit tricky. So try not to overspin. Once you've got it to be that, or once you've made it look like licorice, you want to hold it again, reverse it, and release the claws. And you're going to get something that looks like this. And right now you can see that there are little bumps and valleys, and that gives a tooth to the wire. And the clay needs something to stick onto this smooth wire. When you only use one length of wire, the clay will slip off. So all of these little valleys and bumps give the clay something to grip onto when you're applying and building a clay figure.
All right, so that's basically the spinning of the wire. There's not much to it, but I do want to show you. I have a couple of pieces here. Let's see if I have them. So when you spin it, the wire, what you notice is like this is a really tightly spun wire, so it's really close together, which is great. But you can see that I get these little bumps right in here. Now, On our piece, actually, it doesn't matter too much. On my écorchés, which when we're sculpting just bone on here, these become problematic because there's not a lot of clay that goes on top of these. So you can see that there's like these little inconsistencies in the wire. So to alleviate these, you do want to pull back on the drill as you're spinning it. Now, again, if you don't have a drill that you're pulling back from, you're gonna have to figure something else out. You're gonna have to figure out a way to just twist it, but you're gonna really have to like pull back. And having a little bit more tension will enable you to have a nice cleanly spun wire. So there's that. All right, so that's the first part of our thing, spinning wire. And then we are going to go to, over here. Oops. Lost you guys. Sorry, guys, I lost you on my screen here. Don't save. Sorry. Where'd you guys go?
You mean like our
No. Sorry, I have two screens going on, but my main screen with you guys on it totally disappeared for a second, and I had no clue where you guys went. But you're right back here. So okay, let's go forward.
I just have a question.
What's up?
I think I was following your part on with the drill bit and getting the sorry, I don't know the terms for them, but I drilled it in, but I'm just scared that I might have already messed it up because when I saw yours, like I basically what I did is I didn't like, I'll just show you mine if you can see.
Let me see.
I think I might have messed it up.
That looks perfect.
Or is that okay? Did I like, okay, I don't know. I thought I might have
you did not mess anything up.
Set it up wrong maybe.
So what you do want to make sure of is that the armature is coming out of the side, like the right back. So when you're looking at the wood board, so if I'm looking at this wood board, it's coming out of the back right side. Is that an option for you?
Wait, I don't know. Yeah, I could see it from if I look at it this way, it's the back right side. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, as long as you're looking.
I just haven't set up that top piece yet, but I guess I'll probably have to go back in this, like the top of the 12-inch.
Yeah. So when you're doing it, you put your 12-inch on first, then you put this little coupler on.
Oh yeah, I see the coupler. Yeah, I see it.
So you screw that bad boy on.
Yeah.
To this 12-inch, and then you take your 2-inch, and then you screw your 2-inch in there.
Yep.
And then you put your elbow in, and you screw that in.
Okay.
And then you do your 6-inch.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I see it now.
Okay. I'll wait for you guys to do that actually, because everyone else is just watching us. Holly's petting her cat or something. That's awesome.
He's needy. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all right.
My cat came and yelled at me for a good 5 minutes. Just sat here and yelled at me until I picked him up, and then he climbed on the back of the chair and acted like I didn't exist. So
that's cats. That's why I actually don't. I'm not a cat. Not that I'm not a cat person. It's just that they're so not needy, but when they are needy, they're like, you pet them and they scratch you or they bite you and then they leave. I'm like, come on, man, love me.
That's kind of what was going on over here. He was like reaching up, and I was getting like, out of my face, please. I was getting like the claws in my leg. He's like, hey, hey,
Hey.
I know you're busy,
What are you
but
talking about?
you know,
Hey,
is what it is.
They want attention.
across the board, man.
I
Across the
just
board.
had to trim my cat's claws down today because he has like lethal weapon claws on him and like really bad. So we had to, I just picked him up from the vet for this class.
That's awesome.
They're goobers. I love them though, because I was never a cat person, but this guy, I found him like in a like gutter, like a drain type thing, and
Yeah, you
he was
gotta
only a
take that
couple weeks old.
Wow.
So just kind of took him inside because his mama never came back for him, and he's just kind of been my buddy ever since. So
It's awesome.
yeah.
So I got a dog that way. He was running down the middle of the street with a leash tied behind him. He'd like obviously been tied up for a long time. He just like was just cruising. I'm like, oh, there goes my new dog. Took him home, made him mine. That was hysterical. I had him for like 16 years. He was awesome.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Misha.
My
I
dog
love-
is
I
like
love-
11 years old, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's actually just
It's getting
sleeping
up there.
in my room, yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think animals are essential on so many levels.
Agreed.
They're so great.
Hmm.
So let's see. We're getting there. I don't want to go too much further until.
Yeah, I just sent my husband up to the store with a list.
Oh yeah, you're like, go get my stuff.
I was like, I want to build stuff.
By the way, may I ask how big the board is?
So the board, I believe this board. Let me measure mine. I think it's a 12-inch square.
And what's the
No, this
material? Is it wood?
11. It's 11 and a half. Yeah, this is wood. I have clay. This brown stuff is all clay. I'm just recycling an old board that I had.
Nice.
But basically, this thing is it's 12 inches wide, and it's 11 and a half inches deep. Now you can do a 12-inch square if you want, but I would definitely use wood if you can. I don't know what else you would use, but it's gonna weld something together.
Probably wouldn't.
So yeah, you want to use a nice wood base. Again, if you guys were here, I have like 10 of them right here, right next to me.
Oh.
But you're not.
Too bad. Yeah, I had to leave and go back to my home country because of the pandemic. Yeah. I usually study on site. Yeah, just this semester and last semester. Yeah.
Yeah. I had actually I have a few students that are international that are still here, man. They're still rocking it, but they're all over the place. I had a woman in India, in a small village in India. I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
Wow.
So I love it. I have another student from Istanbul. So it's like it's always a pleasure. It's like, oh my God, there's people from all over the world here. So I love it.
Yeah, that is.
Right.
Actually felt like I'm living on Earth when I go to AAU, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the great place for meeting people from all over the place, getting good food.
Exactly.
I don't know, it's a great place. So y'all connected there, Nina?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you, but yeah, it's connected, and I kind of copied what you have right there behind you.
Samantha, are you putting stuff together up there?
Yeah, I just
Looks
had
like you're
my
doing
dad
something.
help me drill in the wood, and I currently have the board kind of set up.
Oh, cool.
A little bit.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh.
That's a great.
Get rid of my background, and then you can see it better. But
It's all good. As long as it's all together. So let's go through. So again, you want to make sure that this thing isn't moving around too much on you. And then we're going to get into the wire here. The wires are going to be as such. So when you spin your wire, you guys have 20 feet, or you guys will eventually have 20 feet of this stuff. You're going to cut it you're going to have a 5-foot section. No, I'm sorry. When you double this over, right? So when she showed you how to do that, you're going to attach both sides, and you're going to get 20 feet of wire. You're going to turn, you're going to, touch the both ends, basically cutting it in half, and then spin it. So you're going to end up with 10 feet of wire. I'm sorry, my verbiage is not happening right now, but you're going to have one 10-foot piece of wire. And from there, you're going to cut a 5-foot piece, a 3-foot piece. So here's my 3-foot piece right here. I have my 5-foot piece right here. This is going to be basically the 5-foot piece is going to make up the rib cage and legs. The 3-foot is going to be arms, and then I'm going to have this bad boy right here. This is going to be my head and neck. So this seems really long, but it is what I want. It's going to look like that. Okay, so if you guys have spun your wire, you can cut now your wire into one section. So all you have to do is cut a 5-foot section and then a 3-foot section, and whatever you have left over is going to be this. Make sure that the loop is at the top of that, right? So make sure that this loop isn't part of your 5-foot section. You want your 5-foot section not to have a loop on it. Essentially what you want.
We have the wire. Do you want us to just wait till to watch the video again, spin it?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
go ahead and do that. I'll just go ahead and move forward.
Wait, so 20 feet is all together? Like,
All together, but then you fold it in half, and then you're gonna have a 10-foot length, and then you spin that.
oh, okay,
Right,
I
and
get it.
And then from that, then you cut your 5-foot, your 3-foot, and then whatever you have left. Again, because when you spin it, that 10-foot is going to shrink. You're going to probably lose about 2 inches on the 10-foot length, because when you spin it, everything gets smaller, but it's totally fine. As long as you have that 5-foot length and the 3-foot length, that's the most important. The third important would be this guy right here in terms of length. You just want to make sure again that the curve of the head is going to be part of the smallest section of wire, not a part of the 5-foot length.
Got it. Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and start this. So right now, what I want to do is I'm going to touch here, I'm going to move back so you guys can see. Then I'm going to pin myself because I can't see what I'm doing. And then pin it again. There we go. All right. So here's my 5-foot length right here. And what I want to do is I'm going to pull this together and touch the ends. And then I'm going to bring my hands up and kind of squish this wire together all the way up. Now I don't want to get rid of this right here because we're going to do something to it eventually. But so you don't want to just I don't want to do this. I don't want to make this sharp. I want to leave a little bit of curve there. Bring over my armature. And then I'm going to slide my wires in here. Like that. Now, what I need to do, see, this is much too long, but totally fine, is I want to measure to the top of my rib cage, and the top of the rib cage is going to be 20.5 inches. So let me find a ruler. Where did my rulers go? Over here. It's going to be 20.5 inches, which is really low. It's all the way down here. I have way too much wire, which is great. So as I do this, let me bring it a little bit closer. As I do this, you can see that I have a little loop here, and the top of the loop is around 22 inches right here. That's okay. But what I want to do, I want to make sure that that I have a really sharp little angle here. So what we're going to try to do is create this diagonal. So I'm going to have to flatten this down a little bit. Right here, it would be good if you had a tool of some kind. And actually, the angle here is relatively specific. The space of this flat section to the top of the rib should be about 2.5 inches wide. So I have about 3 inches here. It could be a little bit smaller. See the height here. I'll look at my height. 20.5 is up there. So again, what you're looking for is this kind of shape. It's a little V shape or wedge, and you want the top to be at 20.5, and then the width of this to be around 2.5 inches wide. Again, the best way to do this is with some pliers. Check that. I think it's still a little bit wide here. I'm about 1/2 inch, a little bit too wide. So actually, I'm going to take this out real quick. So this is just a little bit too wide. So what I want to do is I'm going to take about 1/2 inch off of this little curve. In order to fix this, I can't just fix this little area. What I have to do is I have to flatten that wire and then come back in. So I'm just going to measure that. Say about 2. I'm just going to look here at my 2.5 and say about here. It doesn't have to be rocket. This is definitely not rocket science, but I just want to have a rough estimate of where that angle should be. Slide that back in. Okay. That looks much better right there. And it should be still a little wide, but that's okay. I'm at 2 3/4 right here. So again, I think that's fine. I'll have plenty of clay on here. You guys try to get closer to 2.5 though. All right, so I have this. Next thing that we want to do is we want to grab the wire with a little loop here. And we're going to slide that bad boy right in here. And what I want to do is I'm going to pull this down until the bottom of this little thing is going to be around, it should be around 24 inches, top around 25 inches. So let's say here, top of this thing should be about right there. That's 25 inches right here. So I know right now, this is where I want this to be, this 25 inches. I'm going to keep that measurement by bending this back. Now this thing can't go down anymore. Now I can mess around with this. It's not going to mess up my measurements. Only thing I want to make sure about right now is this guy right here. Make sure that is at 20.5 inches. A good key is to measure and then remeasure. So this is a little low. I have to bring it up just a little bit higher, but I'm just going to keep that in mind because the next thing I want to do is I need to set these wires in. And the way that you do that is with some wedges. And I'm not sure, again, the kit, you can make these wedges out of anything you have. You have some just like any kind of wood that you might have. Cut it up into little pieces any way that you can. You can hit it with a hammer, get a flathead screwdriver. Just be really careful about how you're doing this. Don't hit your fingers. But if you don't have wedges, you got to create something that is going to go into this little section right here. And so, what's that?
Quick question: from base, the pipe that connects to the base to the elbow. What's the dimensions on that? Okay. Okay.
So I have a 12.
Uh-huh.
I have a coupling. This is a 2-inch pipe. This is the elbow, and then this is another 6-inch pipe here, or just a 6-inch pipe.
And then I apologize about the wire where you have the triangle shaped hole. How long is that going to be again?
Oh, this wire is 5 feet long.
Okay.
And then, it's actually cut, way too long because we actually don't need all of that. We're going to end up cutting some of this off. But yeah, this is 5 feet. And then the arms are going to be 3 feet. And then this ends up being 2 feet, this neck, because that makes up your 10-foot right there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set these wires now. So in order to set the wires, what I want to do is I want to make sure, first of all, that my wires are set in at 20.5, because I know that this is low. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to set this wedge in here and then recheck my measurements. Most important part here is that 20.5. And that is still a little low. Just going to bring it up just a little bit more. And then I'm going to bang it. You can bend this out because I already have my measurements are good here. So what I'm going to do, take a little hammer, a little piece of wood. I'm going to tap it in. Now, you guys don't have this little tap array. This tap array has got a lazy Susan on it like this. If we were in class, I'd say don't hit it on here. On this tab array, because you end up messing up the ball bearings here. So I typically will put my armature on the ground. And actually, before I get going, I just messed up. I need to make sure I know where the front of my sculpture is. So let's do this. So when you're looking at your piece here, I'm going to take this out. When you're looking at your armature right here, what you want is this triangle right here. You want it to be facing the front of this board, which is the opposite angle or the opposite side to where the pipes are laid in. So let me just show you here. This shape right here should be facing this front of the board. This is the front of the board right here. So make sure it's facing out straight. You don't want it going sideways. So a lot of people, because this is going diagonal out of this board, they'll put the sculpture coming straight off to the side. But what we want is this coming out of the side. This pipe coming out of the side of this sculpture. So it's going to look like that. Does that make sense? So I'll go back. I'll have to remeasure 20.5. Now I'm way down. I'm down at 19. 20.5. Right there. Bend that. Recheck my measurements here. Right there. Like that. Then I'm going to set my other little pieces of wood in there. Again, you could use any wood, and you just find that, all your little open. Oh, that's why I just messed up. Forgot to put this in. How silly. I thought something was a little too easy. Hold on, no biggie. Oops. lay this down. Like way too much wire here. So remember, we want the top of this to be around 25 inches. So it's way down here. Seems super low. That's where it is. Bottom 24. No, you know what? Just in the, that's what actually I'm going to do here is I'm going to let this be a little bit higher at this point. So I'm going to take the bottom of this little loop. I'm going to put the bottom of the loop around 24. And so the top of mine is going to be around 26 actually. So I'm just going to leave it there for now because I can bend it around if need be. I have a handout for you, so when you go to this, so that's in. There's not a lot of movement here. I set the wood right in here. I only had one little piece of wood that was enough to hold it, the whole thing. Now, if by chance you feel like it's moving around a little bit too much, another thing you can do is use a screw. Show you how to do that real quick. So here I got the wood. So, you know, let's say that this thing was moving around a little bit on me, like this rib cage. What I can do is just get a wood screw. I don't want to have to do this. I got to pull up my screw box. So where's my drill? So you can use any kind of screw or anything. So let's say that you don't have any wedges to bang in here. Another thing that you can do is you can take a series of screws and you come in and just take up space in the T with screws. Any way that it works. Now, another way you can do it, if you don't have screws even, let's say you don't have screws or wood to put into this T, and you have epoxy, you have to have a really good epoxy that you would set in here. So it wouldn't be like a 15-minute epoxy. I would actually get a really good epoxy that you could use. Be a 2-part epoxy is what I would suggest. All right, so this is what I got so far. I got this big tail right here. And then I got this right here. So here, what I want to do is I want to open up my legs just a little bit. And what I want to do is I'm going to make them equal to this, top of the rib cage. So this is 2.5 inches. So I want this to be about 2.5 inches. So I want these to come out and then down. 2.5 inches, half of that would be what? 1.25. I'm just gonna go to center here. 1.25. Again, this is not rocket science. Like if you're not exactly on 2.5 inches here, I'm not stressing. We can bend this. I'm not even measuring on this side. Just eyeballing it right now. I'm just trying to eyeball this and this being the same or very close to that. You see, look at that big old, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the wires are so, like not even spun here. Anyway, so that's what I got so far. Just come back. Now I got to start connecting some stuff. So the first thing I want to connect is the neck to the rib cage. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Now you're going to need some of this. This is it's kind of tie wire. Steel, it's a really thin gauge steel wire that you can use. And you probably, if you get your kit, I think you get about 5 feet of this stuff, or 3 feet. No, it's about 3 feet of this stuff. So this is what you need. I'm just going to cut like a small section off of this. So this is a cool little trick I got for you. Now this always hurts when you're twining in your wire. It always hurts because you're pulling on your fingers to get leverage, and it always is painful. So here's a little trick. So I have this little guy right here. I'm going to make a loop like that. Go ahead and make a loop when you get a chance to do this. And we're going to use this loop to screw the wires together. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to twine this wire and the neck together. Whoops, go this way. So I just do it like that really quickly. Just twist it and get really nice and close. So you can see I have the little loop on the back. Let me see if I get the, it's a little fuzzy right here. I don't know, let me see. Okay, so I get my loop right here, and then I twist it really loosely in the front. And all you gotta do right here is twist it together. So I'll take this. Now, if you watch the videos that Bree made, they're slightly different. She just wraps it. This is just an easier way to do it, and you can use less wire. I'm just gonna take this and twist, twist. That's not going anywhere right there. But what you have to be careful about is this. Like we have these long tails. Get it sideways here. I got these 2 long tails here. I'm just going to cut these. There. And this one I could probably even leave. So right here, you can get cut on this. So you have to be really careful. I don't know if you can see it, but there's this little tiny, let's see if you can get that. There you go. This little guy right there. Now that'll cut you. So you want to grab some pliers and squish that in. Like that. So now I got that thing really close to the rib cage. You can't see it. Looks really good. I'm going to twist this a little bit more. You don't want to twist it too much where the wire snaps, but this is really nice and tight there. So I'm just going to push this up. And that's fine. All done with that. Now, let's do the arms. Arms. There they are. There they are. So this is my 3-foot wire. Here, what I want to do is I'm going to set my 3-foot wire on top of my ribs here. Maybe I can get this to come down a little bit. So I'm just going to attach this to this. Now make sure that you're a little bit more even than me. So what I would do is this. Just touch your ends together like that. So that way you know that this is your center point. And then when you come over here to put this on, you know that you're going to try to align your center point with this, because you don't want one of your sides, your arms to be super low, the other side really short, because you don't want that to happen. So I'm just gonna, I know that's where I want it. And then do the same thing. Again, I'm gonna take a little piece of wire. I'm not gonna wrap it. I'm not gonna go over and over and over this thing. And I'm just gonna do this. Make a little loop. And then I'm going to take my loop. And twist it. It's not even on there that tight, it just fell off. Hold it back in. And twist away. I love this way. Now, again, this only works if you have pliers. Right? So if you don't have pliers, this technique won't work. What you're going to have to do is just wrap it over and over and over again. And they don't have to be these pliers either. It just has to be something that you can grab onto it and twist. Now, what's really nice here is I can grab this side. There's no movement. Look at that. Normally, if I was wrapping this like over and over and over, and I start to move this, normally the whole wire will move. Just with this one side, it's nice and tight. So again, that's why I love this little technique. Again, I'll cut off the back. See if you can see it from the side. So again, I have that little loop right here. So I'm going to squish that loop in. And then flatten off this little, again, I have that little piece right here. You can kind of see it's really small for you guys. You're probably just like a little fuzz on your screen. But there's a little pokey poke that I don't want to get. There we go. Number one. Do one more. Doing 349. We're good. Now take this. Sorry, this is so repetitive, but this is what it is. Oh, almost forgot my little loop. That. And that's it right there. See if this works. Almost there. That is tight. It's probably about as tight as I've ever seen it. And snip. You can even snip this side, but actually it doesn't matter. Oops, look at that. Ooh, loosened up on me. That's good. Okay, the most important part right here is these little sharp bits. So again, you can see that little pokey. So as you're sculpting, if you leave this out, you're gonna put some clay on there, and then you're gonna squish down your clay, and this is gonna go straight into your hand. You gotta make sure that this is nice and safe. Yeah. So this is actually, got a point to it. All right, good. So just to make sure as you're sculpting, or like before you go too far, just rub your hands over this little section. Make sure if there's anything poking out that is feeling like it might cut you, just take the pliers and run them over the top of them, and that should solidify that. So next thing is, so we got base of this little loop at 24. Top of this is around 25 and a half, 26, which is fine. This is the most important measurement right here. This is 20 and a half inches right here to this section right here to the top of the ribs. And then we have about 2.5 inches from side to side and 2.5 inches here from side to side. Again, try to make sure that everything is in alignment. So, if, try to make sure there's a center point that is consistent in your piece or in the armature. All right. So the next thing is I want to basically angle my arms here. So I'm just going to go about a palm's width from center to the shoulders, right? So that, again, this is not no exacting measurements here to anything. It's just getting it to where we want it to be to start. Now this right here needs to be a nice right angle, right? So again, you want to just use your palm. You can go right here, use a pair of pliers and bend it right there. So you get, oh, that doesn't look too even.
So the loop, the abdomen, or I'm sorry, the loop coming out of the pipe should be, what's the dimensions of that?
So it's from the bottom up, it is 20.5 inches to this point right here. 20.5, and it's about 2.5 inches from side to side.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And then here, I'm just going to measure this just to keep everything. So it looks like I'm about 3 inches out. So I'm going to go over 3 inches right here. Just to be like more, symmetrical to start. Okay, so I'm going to move this back so you guys can see. Right, so that's what he looks like right now. He or she. Right. So this is it. So I have my arms. Ooh, a little bit of it. See this? Look at this. That's not good. So when I twisted this, it was really tight before and it wasn't moving. But see how that's moving? I don't like that. So I have to go back in one more piece or two. I think when I bent the wires over, I kind of loosened it up. You don't want a lot of this. That's not good. Again, I'm just going to do my little trick again. Loop, make that a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna bind all of these guys together here in the middle. There we go. Screw it all together here. So there, look at that. One little wire. I might do it one more time just for good luck. Good luck charms. Instead of cutting this, risking the arms getting loose again, I'm just gonna wrap my wire. Like that. I'm just taking my wire and wrapping it around the ribs. The same thing here. Any kind of wire that you have in here, it's totally fine. Nothing really is going to affect your sculpt at this point in this regard, because all of this is going to get filled with clay. So do that one more time. I think I might do it one more time. Sorry, guys. My worst, I'm kind of I overbuild things often, but I'd rather overbuild than underbuild at this point. Because again, armatures are always going to be your foundation to your sculpture. If you have a weak armature, it's like having a weak foundation in your house. As you're sculpting, things start falling off, like this arm, maybe this rib cage starts to spin in here. So again, it's always, when you're starting a sculpture like this, figurative sculpture, or any sculpture, you want to make sure that your base armature is really nice and sturdy. Especially since we're going to be doing at least all of our sculpts are going to be on this piece. So we're going to be pulling clay on, pulling clay off, pulling clay on, pulling clay off. So it gets moved around a lot. So overbuilding is what you kind of want to do.
Does it have to all be on the one piece, or if we want to like be extra and make more armatures, can we?
Heck yeah, you can make as many armatures as you want. That's great. I mean, that would actually, what I would suggest is if that's the case, get a little bit extra clay, because we end up pulling the clay off of this, our studies to do the eye, and then we'll do a nose, and then we do the figure. So if you're leaving one sculpture, you want to leave that figure on there and really work that thing and build another one. You're going to have to get more clay. So just keep that in mind as you move forward.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Just twisting. I like it. Feels good to me. I think that's fine. And I'm just going to wrap this wire again. That somebody? Nope. Okay. All right. And that's it. So at this point, we got a three-legged wire dude here. Actually, got this tail here. So we got to cut this tail off, essentially, what we want to do. This is actually really hard to do. For those of you, again, without wire cutters. So the easiest thing to do on this for you guys, see if you guys have a flathead screwdriver. And what you want to do is these, I have to cut this tail off essentially. And you have to untwine this. So I guess you could just use the pliers real quick. Untwine it. Actually, not even need it. You could use a screwdriver too, just like kind of whittle it in there. But you want to unwrap this. There we go. And then to make life easier as you try to untie all this, So then when I cut this, I only have to cut individual wires as opposed to 3 wires all together. And again, you should have, these pliers have a little, like that little wire cutter right at the tip or right at the base of your pliers here, and just get in there and go for it. This little guy right here. I'm gonna add that to that side. Oh. Okay. So now, again, 20.5 inches, the base of the head around 24 inches. This is just coming at the base of the T. This is also going to be about 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. So this is square. Here in the last few things we want to do, we want to set our legs. So I'm going to set my legs in up like this, kind of just bend it. I'll bend my legs right there.
Oh, I just wanted to say too, if since you guys have cats, the cat toenail clipper helps to cut the small wires.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Look at those big old flippers right here. So what I want to do with these are not your feet, really. This is just just some wire. So what I want to do is I want to bend it. I want to make sure that the wire is touching the ground here, and I'm just going to bend it in on itself like that. Do that over here. Another thing I can do is getting my pliers here, get more of a right angle. Whoops. There we go. So ideally, what you want is this thing to be touching the board and the leg not to move too much, right? So I had to bend this. You can see the nice little right angle there. This one's got a longer curve here. So as opposed to that long curve, again, take your pliers, put them on the vertical wire, and put them as low as you can, and then twist forward. And that is going to bend a nice little right angle right here. And now you can see that my legs are going slightly back. Look at that angle right here, slightly back. That's what I want.
Like he's skiing.
Yeah, it's going to do a little jump. Hi-ya! Okay, so let's talk about posture or gesture here. So our first thing is here, let me show you the anatomical center position. Okay, I'll have to move him back. This is an écorché. This is what you guys are all going to take eventually. So this is a half bone, half muscle sculpture, and he's in an anatomical center position. We're going to start our armature in anatomical center, which means if you look at it, the rib cage, when you're in anatomical center, your rib cage goes back. So my rib cage is going to go slightly back, and then my pelvis is going to kind of tilt up just a little bit, and then my neck is going to come forward. So this angle right here is going slightly up right here. This angle right here is going slightly down. This neck, which you can't really see too much, but the neck is going slightly forward. This is a slight forward pitch right here. And then the head is going straight out. All right, so we're going to do that. Another thing that we're going to look at in these legs is that the legs themselves, let me go this side. The legs go back. This is a diagonal, get a vertical line here. So if I take a vertical line, you can see that this leg right here is falling back from our center line right here. So this is a center line here. Legs always fall back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with our armature. So this one, I already know my legs are going slightly back, but what I want to do is I want to push my ribs slightly back, push my pelvis. I think the pelvis is fine. Push my neck forward here and put my head straight up. Something like that. And then also just in kind of the idea that our shoulders, when you're standing at attention, your shoulders are back, right? Anatomical center is our shoulders back, not like this. I'm not doing like a closed sculpture with my shoulders in. What I want to do is I want to bring my arms out, right? Or my shoulders back like this, pulling my chest out. So I'm going to pull my arms or my shoulders back just slightly. And then right at the T, what I'm going to do is, boom. It's going to bend it out. If I look at my arms here, what's happening with my arms, although I have my sweater on, you can't really see too much. But if I relax my arms, what you're going to notice is that my arms are going, well, my arms are going down and out and down. Let me just show you on this. A little easier. Anatomical center. Arms starting here, going down, out, hand down. That is the pose. Our arms aren't straight. When we're when you're sculpting or drawing, if you are sculpting this cone that is directly straight like this, that's not the way it is. If you relax your arm, you're going to notice that there's a gesture to it. Again, it goes down, out, and in. The reason that is that our bone here, this is the humerus. So if I look here, this is a little anatomy for us. Our bone here is longer here, shorter here on this side. So the angle of this humerus is actually angled up like that, which sends the lower arm out this way. And conversely, you can see that this side, so if I go in, if I'm horizontal, like bring this down like this, boom, look at that. It's longer on this side, shorter on this side. So it actually changes for the hand, sending the hand vertically down, which again, you always want to think about that gesture in the arms. All right. So here, we don't know where anything is at this point. So when you guys start to get to this, just think about bringing your arms down. I don't know how long they are right now. I'm just going to assume somewhere in the waist, somewhere in here. That's kind of, if I look here, if I look at my arms, if you rub your elbows into your rib cage, your elbows are basically going to be right at the base of your rib cage, above your pelvis. So here, I don't know. I think this is the rib cage. So I'm going to say, boom, about right there. Then come down just a little bit, and then boom, boom. And these are going to get cut down. These are way too long, but that's fine. You want longer instead of shorter. It's always better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. Another thing I could do if I wanted to be all super fancy, I could bend these forward at the elbow and then down at the hand. Right. So if I'm again anatomical center, I'm not doing this. My arm is not straight, relaxed. Look at that. It's like this. Goes down, forward, and then you can see that there's a slight curve in the back of my hand here. So if I'm relaxed, my arms the angle here is going down and then flares down right here and then moves out through the fingers. again, when we're starting to look at sculpture, we always have to look at the silhouette. Like, what is the outside line? So you can't see here because I have a black thing on, but if you can see my hand, you can see how the angle of the hand kind of rotates down and forward here. Again, we're just following very loosely. Elbow forward, wrist down. So there's a little bit of that. Again, this is very subtle. So this is down, out, down. Done. That's our armature. Easy money. It's a gallery view. Welcome back. Look, you guys are all just sitting there having to listen to me. Elle, you look like you're having such a great time. You're like, it's like a party there with it. You're doing it. All right. So, okay. So now I think it's 4:12. We still have some time left. I have to demo our homework. But I do want to take a little bit of a break. Can we take a 15-minute break? Cool. Thank you so much. So let's take 15. We'll come back here. Let's be back here at 4:30. And then at 4:30, I'm going to go ahead and demo our the box, egg, and the cylinder. And that'll be your homework for this week. Okay? All right, I'm going to mute. All right, you guys all back, kind of? Some of you? Samantha. Right on, guys. Thanks for being here. I know the first day is kind of weird just because, it sucks that you guys have to watch, and some of you guys are making it, some of you guys aren't. Just know that, again, I'll be available I won't be available on Sunday, but I will be online on Saturday, and then Monday and Tuesday next week, if you need anything from me, we can, I can see what I can do. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to show a video actually of Bree doing these like little geo shapes, because she's so awesome at it. I'm going to also do a little demo as well, but she's got a much better film setup for us. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys. We're going to go ahead and watch. Whoops, I forgot to pause. So actually, it's just so you guys know, I'm recording this, right? And I forgot to pause our 15-minute break. So now you're going to have to skip ahead 15 minutes of just open-ended nothingness there. So let me go ahead and share screen. I'm going to optimize this one. Hopefully it works a little better. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead.
A cube, you want to think about it from different.
You guys hear that?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Mostly.
Yep.
Okay. Just speak up if it's not making any sense or you can't hear it. Let me know, and we'll work it out.
Okay, to start sculpting a cube, you want to think about it from different viewpoints. I'm going to first basically draw with the clay a top view of a cube. And the assignment is to make a cube that is 2 inches by 2 inches. You just don't want to use too much clay for this assignment. It's okay if it's a little bit bigger, but try not to go any smaller, because then it just gets harder to put the detail on there. So you can see I'm holding a little bit of clay, and I'm just using little bits to kind of tap it into a general shape. I can use any of my straight wood tools to double check my measurement. I'll take the pointy end of, let's say, this boxwood tool, and I would put the point of it at 2 inches and my finger at 0. And then I would double check that my measurement is close to being accurate. Okay. All sides. You could just use the ruler like this. Sometimes a long ruler can get in the way. Okay. Now, some people worry about trying to make every little bit pretty right now. You really want to just keep it loose and make sure that your measurements are still remaining accurate. So I'm going to basically take a normal sized chunk of clay, like that, and I'm just going to start adding little bits and thinking about what a cube looks like. And then I'll always want to double check the height, okay? Make sure that I'm not getting too small or too big. Notice I'm kind of pinching the clay or kind of tapping it with the side of my wood tool. And it looks pretty ugly right now, and that's fine. Once you get it like this, you'd want to come around and spin to make sure that you kind of have the basic idea of each side of the cube looking square. Then you can start to worry more about the finish. So here I'm gonna look for little bumps and valleys that are starting to happen. And I can take my wood block, kind of tap, trying to get a flat surface on there. And then I'll take little kind of bits of clay and I'll smooth in each side. Now, people really, when they begin to sculpt, they think that the finish is as important as the form, but you really want to remember that it's okay if there's little kind of bumps or indentations, as long as you can see that the form is flat and consistent. Right. So I'm just going all the way around. Now, you don't need to pick up the cube and look at it from every direction. You can keep it on the board. But you do want to keep spinning it and looking at it. Once it's in this basic, nice sharp edges, everything seems to be pretty flat. You can use this loop tool where you can scrape off any large bumps like that. Or you could flip it over, right? There's these little tiny grooves in a loop tool that will cause these little lines to kind of appear. And that's basically moving the clay around. And you can easily clean that up by flipping it around and scraping in the other direction, or using a flat tool to kind of come back and flatten the plane. Now, that's the general idea of sculpting a cube, but you're going to want to spend some more time finessing and really making sure that all those edges are sharp and clear, and that, you know, there's no really exaggerated indentations or bumps. Right? Remember, the goal is not to get a glassy, smooth finish. It's to get a nice, consistent, flat plane. And it's okay if there's little teeny tiny marks in the clay. Okay, so I've gone back and refined the edges and the planes of the cube, so the sides of the cube. And you can see that it's the form that's most important. There's little kind of dark spots, but overall, all of the edges are flat and perpendicular to the wood board. And if you look at it, all the edges are nice and sharp and consistent. Okay, so now we're moving on to the shape called the tapered cylinder. And you want to approach it in the same way that you would with the cube, by looking at the shape from above. And the tapered cylinder is going to look like a kind of just a flat circle, and the requirement for this assignment is that the diameter of this circle is 2 inches. So I'll just measure to make sure that I'm roughly within that 2-inch mark. Then I would want to deal with the height of it. The height of this is about 4 inches. So I'm taking kind of a blob of clay, and I'm actually just sticking it on there like that. It'll look pretty funny at first, okay? But I want to double check that the height is right. It's about 4 inches. And now I want to think about what this shape looks like from the side view, right? It's going to be wider here at the bottom, and then it's going to taper or get smaller as it gets to the top. And I want the top to be about 1 inch, okay? So half the diameter of the circle at the bottom. So I'll start to kind of build up that general shape of a flattened circle. And then I can start to make these coils of clay. And I always think of a coil like a line if you were drawing. I can start to apply that to the edge and basically draw the line that connects the top and the bottom. So when you're sculpting, you're basically drawing from many different angles. So once I get this close to what I want, I would turn it a quarter turn and draw it from another direction. Worm of clay, attaching it along the side, kind of, you know, I'm pushing, but I'm still supporting with the other hand. And I want to do this from both views, right? Side and the other side. And I can use either my fingers or a wood block to gently tap the edges so they're more kind of straight and consistent. Now in the cube, we were making every side flat. Here we have to think about making this rounded. So I'm going to take little blobs of clay and I'm just pushing, right, and kind of thinking about how rounded or convex the plane is going to be from this line to that line. When I say plane, I just mean an area of clay that's going a certain direction. And once I've kind of filled it in, I take this wood block, right, and I start kind of tapping it and rounding it like that.
Thank you.
So I'll just go all the way around. And the hard part with sculpting is that, you know, you might do something perfectly once, but as you're adding clay, it might move around on you. So that's why it's really important to basically put clay all over and build up the whole thing. It basically, like a C level, get it a little bit more smooth, a B level, right? Then work on your edges. Right? Just always want to be working on the whole thing.
I just need you to get the whole started for me since I'm watching this. Yeah.
So right now you can see it's starting to get a little bit bumpy. I can come in and tap the clay.
I'm allowed to drill the holes
around. Right. Or I could use the loop tool to start to kind of scrape off the excess. And I really want to make sure that I'm going across the form or horizontal. I don't want to keep going up like this, because what'll happen is you'll start to get this kind of indent. It'll start to be concave. So I'm spinning and kind of moving the clay or removing the clay in a horizontal manner. So I would keep working on this, really making sure that the edges, meaning the silhouette, is flat and consistent as you turn it around. And then when you look down at it, it looks like a 1-inch circle, right? That's then getting bigger down to the base. So I've started to refine this cylinder or tapered cylinder shape, and what I was trying to get is nice, straight, consistent silhouette. So as I turn it, right, it looks the same from all views. When I look down at it, it looks like a 1-inch circle, and it's okay once again for the finish to be a little bit rough as long as the form is visible and consistent. Now we're going to sculpt an egg. An egg is going to start off basically as an oval and a little blob of clay, and you're going to build it in your hand at first. So the goal is to get a egg shape that is 3 inches long. So I'm going to start with a blob of clay that's that length. It's going to look real funny at first. Once I have that length, I need to figure out where the egg is going to be the widest. And the difference between an egg and a sphere is that a sphere or a ball shape would be widest at the halfway point. But with an egg, the egg is widest at about 2/3 down. So if I take this mass of clay and I divide it into 3 equal sections, I'm basically just making 2 marks on it, right? This section is equal to that one is equal to that one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build up basically the bottom or the top view of the egg on this 2/3 mark. So I'll set that down, and I just want to grab a coil of clay. And if you were to look down at an egg, you would see that this widest part looks like a circle, right? And the diameter of that circle would be about 2 inches. So I'm just adding clay and tapering that down to the bottom of the egg. So when you look down at it, right, it would look like a circle, right? But you would see this odd kind of shape at the top. Right? Then just like with the tapered cylinder, right, I would take coils of clay and I would look at what the egg looks like from the side view. Right? And it's tapering from the widest point, right, here at the circle and getting more narrow as it gets to the top. And my forms are basically exaggerated right now. An egg isn't going to be that pointy at the bottom, but at least it gives me a starting point for the clay. So now I'm adding, right, the view from the other side. And now, since an egg is rounded, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to add little blobs of clay connecting those contours. Now, the clay is pretty soft, so you do want to be careful of how hard you're squeezing. Okay? So I'm just adding blobs of clay, right, to fill in the gap, trying to hold it loosely. I'm not really caring about the surface, as always. Like, that would be too much clay, so I'm going to cut that in half. Kind of pressing, and I know that it's distorting the form a little, but at least I have my starting point. Now I can, at this point, I would let this sit out for about 30 minutes or so to get a little bit more sturdy. Right now the clay is really soft, so if you let it kind of air dry, not for that long, maybe 30 minutes at the most, you can come back and check and the clay will be a little bit less likely to move when you're holding it in your hand. When I'm letting it sit, I want to come back and I want to make something for the egg to sit on, because most people will sculpt an egg and then they want to set it up like that so it'll stand up on its own, but eggs don't have a flat spot, so I don't want you guys to leave any type of flat area on an egg. So what I do is kind of build up something that has a soft kind of curve to it, almost like a nest for an egg. And then when you're letting it dry or you're turning it in, you can rest it there so there's no flat areas. So I've worked on the egg a little bit more, making sure that it looks the same from all views. So when you rotate it, I'm really making sure, or your instructor is really going to want to see that the widest point of your egg is about 2/3 down and about the same as that egg is turned around from different views. That when you look at it from the bottom, it's circular, that it's longer than it is wide, and that your surface is consistent. You don't need to worry about the glassy smoothness, right? You just want to be able to see the same silhouette or contour all the way around. And then you want to put it on that nest that we talked about, something curved so you don't get any flat points. And when you turn in this assignment, you want to photograph it from the vertical and then turn it horizontally, and make sure that your camera view is about at a 45-degree angle.
Okay, that's good. All right, that's essentially our first set of projects. So for you guys, all the content for this first project is uploaded on the download, so you can download all that, as well as it's in the LMS. So I listed that stuff on there. I'm going to go ahead and do one of these live for you. I'll be a little bit less, maybe a little bit different process than Bree does, but same kind of idea. Now, again, what I have here is slightly different clay too. This is a low fire white clay. You can use any kind of clay that you have or can get a hold of wherever you are. It does not matter. You can use polymer clay. You can use air dry clay. It doesn't matter. The point of this first project is really trying to get you guys to look at the silhouette of an object and to really spend some time working those vertical silhouettes out, the horizontal curves, trying to get all those things relatively uniform. That's what you're trying to do here. It's not about again, what Bree was saying is trying to make sure that this is super pretty. Like, yes, it'd be great if all these things were gorgeous, but it's less about like a pretty sheen and more about the line. So let me go ahead and show you how I go about this process. And you can use any tools at your disposal. She had, and I think is actually a really good one, I don't even know if I have one, is just a piece of wood, which is really strange. I have wood all over here, but I don't have anything cut. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this up so you guys can see how I'm approaching this. And this is not, again, it's not rocket science. It's not like meant to be a really intense project, but it is. I have to say that if you're able to, do this project and be really clean about how you sculpt these parts, it's going to translate exactly into the egg in the box and the cube and all that stuff, the cylinders that we do next. So here we go. I typically, again, I would use the ruler. I use some kind of fettling knife or any kind of knife that you have, any kind of rake or wood tool. Let me try to get one that fits the size. And I'm just, so I'm super fancy. I'm going to use an old iPod, 80 gig iPod from like the whenevers to tap my. So the way that I would approach this first is I would use your wood boards, those other smaller wood boards, just to keep the mess down in your house or wherever it is that you're working in your garage. This is a messy kind of situation. This water-based clay does kind of dry up and get it dries up, gets kind of like powdery, so it'll get in your air. So just make sure that you're keeping everything, keep your hands clean afterwards, keep your surfaces clean. you have like a surface, maybe you can put a specific piece of wood down that you're going to use, like that board. So the way that I would start this, same kind of way that Bree would go and do this, I would essentially, another way to think about this is I would just take the ruler here, and I would really use the ruler to get the 2 inches. So I get 1, 2 right here and work right up against it. And I think my experience with this class is that a lot of people have a hard time finding a right angle. And I think I set my knife down somewhere. So I'm just going to take a right angle. So I'm just going to use my ruler and the fettling knife and come straight over and say, okay, this is 2 inches here and here. Come over here, 2 inches, 1, 2. And I would cut straight on that 2-inch mark. There's no cheating in this. I don't think any way that you, any process that you use to create this block works. Although what I would suggest is if you have a block of clay, I mean, you could even go here and say, okay, 2, 2. You can even cut it out this way. But I think this kind of defeats the purpose of the process here just a little bit when you cut it out, right? So if I cut it out this way, it's a really good way to really quickly get a nice right angle here, right? But I still have to work out the proportions. The exercise that we're doing is that you're kind of building up. So again, it doesn't matter to me if you cut this thing out and you make it what it is, but I think it's a really good practice to really try to build up that form. So I'll go 2 inches, that's good. Good. But again, there's no cheating in this. And 2 inches. So this looks really nice to me. So I'm just going to build it the same way. I want this thing to be 2 inches high. Now you're going to notice same thing that Bree was talking about. This stuff is really, when the clay is really wet, like it is, it's really hard to keep a shape. And I have to say that I guess the hard part of this is going to be working with the soft clay, and when you're pushing it, having a vertical line, right? So this line is, make sure that it's not getting pushed over, right? Really work on those right angles. Another way to deal with that, and if you know, is set a straight edge up against it. Say, okay, wait, that's not even close to being straight. Another way, if you wanted to, if you're lucky enough to have some tools at your disposal. Where's my? I have, you know, if you want to get crazy, this is a framing square. Oh, sorry. This is a framing square right here. And I can set this right up against here, and I can kind of see what a right angle looks like. And I can even drag this across to really help me to get that shape. And utilize the tools that you have at your disposal, but realize too that the process of building up this form is that you're trying to observe this block and then make some decisions based on its shape. So again, if the tool looks, you know, that looks pretty good. Oops. Good. Tap that in. I don't have a block, but I have this, so I can tap this in. Maybe hold it. Scrape. Scrape. There. So again, I can't impress enough on you guys is that sculpting is all about the silhouette. And the silhouette is always going to be the outside line. It's the, you know, the space where your object meets the environment, right? So being able to recognize angles or inconsistencies in form is a skill that you have to kind of nurture through the process of doing this kind of like thing, right? So it's not much of anything. It's and you can sculpt with anything. I think one of the best tools that I've ever had that has been consistent in my my tool belt is a wedge or like a little wooden block, because it's just straight angle. You can tap forms out. This is my wooden block right now. Boom. And pretty much done. I just got to measure up. Oh, not even close to done. I'm about a 1/4 inch off here. Great. Anyway, I think you guys get the idea of how to do this. It's not much of, again, the process is more about recognizing the verticality of each one of these lines, and then also the right angle from top to bottom. So really looking at the way that the flatness of each one of these sections. Again, you don't have to make it pretty. Like if I was gonna, you know, at this point, I probably want to let this dry up a little bit. So do that whole 30-minute thing to really get this done. Again, take your time with this. Like maybe what might be a good process of working would be to rough in all of your forms at one time. So here, maybe I could rough in, I could probably leave this here and then start in on my cylinder. But again, I want to check my height. 2 inches is right there. 2 inches, it's right there. All right, let's get that on. Let's get this across. I'll check all of my sides. 2, 2, 2. A little under 2. Need a little bit more juice right here. And check my sides. That's 2 right there. So again, I'm just kind of like, I'm finding like this needs just a little bit more width. And then I want to bring up that vertical line right here. Again, I want to take that right angle and say, okay, how close am I to that? So it needs a little bit more right there. That's a really good silhouette right there. All right, so that's all you're really looking for is this kind of shape. So I would just rough it and get it to that point and just leave it. And then you can start in on your next project, which could be your cylinder. So tapered cylinder, again, I would start with a ball again and just press it in, and then measure in. She wants that thing 2 inches. I imagine I want it the same. I want it to be a little bit. 2 to 1 right there. That's exactly 2 inches right there. Again, it's easier when you start with the ball and then try to work that ball out so it's an even kind of shape here. And you can always measure. Got 2 inches. I'm a little bit big here. There's 2 inches there. 2 inches here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Cut that off. I'm just going to round that around. Taper that cylinder or taper that circle and just a little bit more. Take a measurement. There's 2 and 2. All right. So I would just take that circle then, and then I almost pull that off. I think these ones, the tapered cylinder and the egg, are the little bit harder ones. Typically on this one, what happens is they start to look like they're kind of tilted. You see how like that it's kind of tilted over. It's really hard to get these things to stand straight up. So we want 2 here, and then I think she said 4 inches tall. So I'm just going to go through, support at the base. I think it was 2 to 1. She was using those little, this is another way to work here. And this is actually a really good way to move forward with this process is these little noodles. So when I'm sculpting on my work, I'm always using noodles. I don't know if it's necessarily the most, if that's the only way to work this tapered cylinder, but I like the way that she had, maybe that was with the egg, I can't remember, but she kind of built up the stringers and then dealt with the silhouette. Kind of just making a mountain here. And then 4 inches. And there's no cheating here. Like any way that you come about this tapered cylinder, as long as you're doing it and someone else is not doing it for you, I think you're good. You're golden. Just really quickly, just add this in. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have lazy Susans like this, but it'd be really helpful if you did. It's just a nice investment. You can get lazy Susans at like your Home Depot or your Lowe's or wherever. And if you guys do choose to get one, let me know and I'll walk you through how to put it together, because it can be a little complicated to put them together. Here's my rendition of the tapered cylinder. And I'm not even using tools right now. And the reason I'm not using tools right now, because this is so, my clay is so wet. And before we leave today, I actually am going to talk to you about that, like how the storage, because you guys, I think, are just buying 1 bag of clay, and we have to make that 1 bag of clay last all semester. So you don't want this stuff to dry out. So you want to be able to, oops, move that. Here, I'm going to take this thing off here. Notice when I'm doing this, I'm not going all the way through because I've already got a pretty decent shape here. It doesn't look like it entirely, but it's a good start. So this is my start. I mean, not pretty at all, but not meant to be pretty yet. So you see how, like, if I tap, this thing is just like moving all over the place. It doesn't really do anything at this point. So I'm just going to give it a little rest, a little breather, just run through this quick little demo. Again, right now, what I want to try to concern myself with is just that silhouette. And I can see there's big concavity down here. Again, you want to look at your, see if I can find a better. So put this down here. You want to look at the outside line and say, okay, what's going on here? I can see that there's a concavity here and a nice convexity over here. So I don't want this concavity at all. So I know that I'm going to have to fill this silhouette up. And then I'll just keep on moving it around in terms of like looking at this outside line all the way through and making sure that all of those are uniform. That is going to be your challenge here. See if I can get a good silhouette on this. Honestly, I have to say again, if you can do this really well, it will inevitably help you with your figure work. Honestly, because this tapered cylinder, you're going to find in all your legs, your arms, legs and arms, I guess. Cube, like we were talking about before, the cube is, you got your pelvis, even in your skull. If again, noticing the right angles of things, noticing the verticality of line, as again, this project can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. The easiest way to deal with those concavities is again with a tool. But again, aside from the tool, it's really about noticing it. Right. So you might come in next week with these done. They might look really good, but maybe you're missing the silhouette. So again, if you're thinking that it looks beautiful, and then I come in and I tell you, oh, well, no, I need some work. Just know that it's. I'm just looking not at how clean this thing is, but how nice the silhouette runs through the object. Pretty much done with this one. So this is like what? 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 54. Open this up a little bit. And we want one that is 2 to 1. See how close I am to 1. It's right at 1 inch. That looks great. Believe me, this will be much more fun when we get sculpting the figures. And you want to support it from one side to the next. And I'm being really gentle with this. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my little shape here, my cylinder, just a little bit. And as I'm pushing, I'm pulling here just to keep it from being a leaning tower. And that's a good start right there, I think. Here's 1, 2. Now the most important one is going to relate to the skull and the rib cage the most, is going to be your egg. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So again, I'll leave that. This cube is actually pretty bad. I need some work on this bad boy. But I'll just set it over here for now. Let it cool, not cool down, but dry. So 1, 2. And last but not least, egg. I forgot her dimensions, but I'm gonna stick with those dimensions. I imagine it's probably gonna be around 2 inches or maybe 4 inches, the size of that the tapered cylinder. So I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna start by rolling. Bring this up. Right, so now when I have this kind of shape, I'm just going to draw a center line. Right, so center line down my object. This is going to help me to create the center line vertical center, and then it's also going to help me to define the proportional relationship here of the thirds that Bree was talking about here. So, and you can again use your tool if you're not sure if something's fitting. Just take a tool and go 1, 2, and 3. I'm short of the bottom, so I can bring this up a little bit. Up. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's got to be really close. 1, 2, 3. No, not even close. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think I already have like the wide point at that third, and then I'm just going to work it that way. And maybe even what I can do is bring that line all the way around, so it stays consistent all the way through. And this is going to be the hardest one because you have to kind of hold it. And then as you're holding it, I have, a ring or something, whatever that's in your hand is going to end up being imprinted on here, especially while it's so wet. I'm gonna roll that one just a little bit, roll it up. Cleans up the side here really quickly, right? So all I'm doing is I'm taking and rolling. Again, I don't want to front and back. It needs to be round. Then here's my base. So I'd probably just leave this be, again, same thing. Probably just leave that 520. just gonna work this one side out. And then I'm gonna just go over some storage stuff on this. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. I realize a lot of people are probably fading off at this point. Understandably so. Without your clay, you're just listening to my voice.
I actually have a question.
What's up?
After we after we sculpt our objects and we take pictures, are we supposed to leave the clay like that or reuse the clay for other projects in the future?
Okay, so after you finish making these objects, what my suggestion would be is to cover them up. Don't break them down quite yet. Just cover them up, photograph them, cover them, and then I'll get to critiquing just in case there's something like a little bit of an improvement, like if you want to get the A or whatever. So you'll have those little shapes that you can improve upon. So yeah, definitely keep them after you photograph them, at least for a week, because this isn't actually that much clay. We're never going to use a ton of clay at once. It's always going to be just a little at a time. Ooh, who's that? Patrick, that looks great.
It's good.
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
Let
me pin that.
More. Can you see it all the way?
Yeah, that looks really good. All I would say is maybe taper the legs in and back a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit back, and then you want them to come together just a little bit. And that's it. That looks wonderful.
All right.
Very good work.
Thank you.
Right on. That's great. Let's get here. So let me just show you what I have, because I think that this right here is, let me just remove that pin. So I think right here, this is beautiful screen. There we go. I mean, I think this is fine for now. You guys could clean up or take this to the next level, wherever that is. Now this egg is definitely hurting. This is not a great egg. So your eggs, your finished pieces need to be better than this. But this is a really good start. And then you just tap out the form to really resemble an egg. And if it helps, go grab an egg. This one I think is a little bit too thick at the top. The width is fine, but it's a little too round, right? So I might even take my rake here. Oops, don't get too crazy. And rake a little off.
Dinosaur egg.
Yeah, it looks like a dinosaur egg. Yeah, pick your egg. Pick your egg. Ostrich egg. I think we just want to go for the standard organic free range chicken egg. But yeah, here I could just start to whittle this shape down, and then in the end I can tap out some of these forms or come in with the smoother side of my tool and just clean it up. I have seen people polish these things down, so they'll just, instead of trying to utilize this clay anymore, they're like, okay, I'm just going to make this egg and keep it. They'll go through and they polish them. They can sand them down. You get these perfect looking eggs. Again, it's not, I think the point of this project is not that, it's that you're not trying to reach the perfect cube or the perfect tapered cylinder. What you're just looking at this outside line and trying to do the best that you can with that in mind, right? So there's that and that. So let me show you what you guys are going to need for storage. And just basic kind of housekeeping here. I have to wash these pants, so here we go. So everybody, now in lieu of me not having a plastic, oh, actually, what I do know. He's outside. All right. So this is actually what you want to do. So get yourself a plastic bucket. And when you get your bag of clay, just back up here. It is imperative that when you have your bag of clay, first thing you do, right? So we have this thing open. This stuff will dry out really quickly. So what you want to do, again, you always want to close it. Now you don't have to reseal this with like a zip tie, but typically I will spin. I'll put the plastic underneath. So, you know, no air is going to get in here. So this is going to stay wet for a while. And then I can dump it in my bucket right here. And then on top of this bucket, or on top of the clay, so your bag is going to be a lot bigger. And your bucket's probably going to be maybe the same size, if not, hopefully a little bit bigger. When you throw this in, what you want to make sure is you cover this with either a wet towel or a towel at this point, because this is not going to dry off. As long as you spin it, put it in here, and then we got to cover this somehow. So if you have a lid to your bucket, that's excellent. If not, I'm going to go ahead and donate a plastic bag. I can utilize this plastic bag for later in my sculptures. So I can put this over the armatures. So once we get some clay, this will go over the piece. But here, what I would do is just take and tuck this plastic bag around. Oh, you're not seeing it. Just trying to seal it. Now, obviously, actually even smarter would be to double bag, right? But more important than even double bagging, make sure that this is sealed up. Set it down, cover this. Especially for those hot climates you guys are in, it's going to be essential here. So if you notice, so what I would do is really test your clay a little bit. So open it up, sculpt with it. Notice how quick your these little forms start drying off for you. And if you're noticing that like in an hour, this is like it's really stiff, what you should really think about doing is getting your spray bottle. Always spraying your work down every few minutes. And then before you put this away, spray your clay, seal it up, and put it in, double bag it, and you should be fine. Okay. This is what you got to do. Essential. Now, if I had a lid, I would still cover this thing up. No matter what, you got to cover it up because you're going to trap some air in here, and the air is going to kind of wet your clay down. Now, another way to do that, let's say you have one of these, you don't want to keep the bag for some reason. Maybe there's a hole in your bag. So maybe you just want to dump it in this plastic bucket. Now you can utilize the plastic bucket, but what then you want to do is get yourself a rag, like a t-shirt, grab a t-shirt, wet the t-shirt, get it wet, wring it out a little bit, and then dump your, put the t-shirt over the clay and then seal this up. So you just want to make sure you're covering your bases because you guys are all buying this stuff. Each bag costs, it could be $25. I don't know how much it is, but they can be expensive. And then also if you're having to order this stuff, you don't want to have to reorder and then run out of clay. So that happened to me last semester where some people had dry clay or didn't bag it up right. It was very simple things that we covered really early that then just were forgotten through the semester. So so really take the time to seal this up, because this is your bread and butter right here. As soon as it's gone, you're gonna have to buy some more or not, and then I don't know what you're gonna do after that. That now I can just leave that right here. Oops. Okay. Oh, yeah, you kind of see where I, just put all my stuff in there. I just leave everything right there, and I'm set. Is there anything else that I am missing here? Let me pull you guys over so I can see you. All right. Do you guys have any other maybe questions? I don't know. Nothing.
So I'm wondering what type of clay would be best to like buy that's like not that expensive, but like that would be the most versatile that we could get, I guess.
So in I think they have you buying the Soldate 60 is what we typically use. That is I believe it's a high fire white clay. We're not really firing stuff in this class, so I think that's a decent clay to use. Now you can also get this low fire gray clay that I have. It's just called low fire. Let me see. Hold on. What's that? This is called. I love this stuff because when you fire it, it really is a pretty white color. So it's just low fire white, smooth white earthware. That's all it is, and it's from Clay Planet. It's called low fire white. Kono 6-1. And I think I don't even have a clue how much a bag of clay costs. If you guys are local, I think Patrick, you're local. Anybody that's local here, you might be able to go into the cannery, or not the cannery, but the what's it called? The
Flex store?
410 Bush. And then you can ask them for some recycled clay, and they have recycled clay. So if you need extra clay, we have extra clay there you can get. It's free. Nicole, if you're close to San Francisco, maybe if you're coming down to pick up a kit, ask them to get some extra clay. There's extra clay there for you. So anybody that can come in can get some extra clay for free.
I got the Soldate 60 clay. Somebody named Dana Sorenstein emailed me, or I emailed her about it, and she gave me this website called Laguna Clay, and I was able to find like a distributor in my area, like kind of far from me, but it was $41.50 for 100 pounds of the Soldate 60. So I feel like, I don't know if that's expensive for clay, but that's what I got it for.
Yeah, it seems like, can you not? Do you have to get 100 pounds? Is that one box?
No, I was actually just told I should get 75 pounds, but then no, it came in like 225 pound. Yeah, 225 pounds per like a box. So
yeah. Wow. So yeah, that's a lot of clay. I think you'll be fine for clay. That is, I guess, the right price. I wish you were closer because we could have given you some. Where are you again?
I'm in San Diego. I'm actually I'm in Oceanside, like you said you're from it. I'm in Oceanside.
Yeah. Right, that's right. It seems it's my aunt used to she actually has some places down there too that she goes to or used to go to. So yeah, so I would expect to spend around $50, whatever that is. I think that you can get by. I feel like they have people buy 25-pound bags. Like you could, if you recycle your clay, you might be able to get away with like a bag and a half of clay, but maybe it is best just to get the whole box for yourself. Just get a whole box of clay. So that's what I do. Samantha, I see a lot of drawings in your space. Is that your art studio?
Yeah, yeah, it's my art studio. When quarantine happened, like my sister's over there doing homework, my dad's over there doing work, and then this is my studio over here. Yeah, I wish I could draw on Conti, but now I just do digital stuff. So that's from like a few years ago, but it's fun to do something that isn't digital. So this clay is really fun. I actually had a question though. So when we post our spheres and stuff, or egg, and you give critiques, do we delete what we had or just post like the edited stuff under it?
Yeah, so I will, good question. I open up weekly. There's going to be a space for you to post your work. And then after you post, you get a critique. And if you want to just repost work, you can do it. And I'll post a little space for everything to be reposted, I guess. And then there's also going to be a space open for late work. So, and I'm going to leave that open for each assignment, just so I don't get confused. Because if I just open up one space, there's a ton of work in there that comes in at any one time. Just know when I'm grading work, this is a good thing to kind of talk about. I typically, reserve those A's for the people that are really getting their stuff in on time and that are, the work is very exceptional. But I have to say that, like, if you're coming in late and you have A work, we can talk about it. Maybe there's something we can do to get your grade back up. But I do kind of reserve that for people that are getting their stuff on time. And but it's not a rule of thumb. Like, if I see some amazing work, you guys pull in a figure and it's a day late, it's totally fine. Again, just email me and let me know if you're having a hard time meeting the deadlines, and then we can work out how to move forward. Because I really do feel like A work is A work. But I don't want to get into a place where everybody's just waiting to hand stuff in until later. And that's where it becomes very problematic. So just know that it's just really hard to organize. And then also, if the work is really good, it's great. But what happens if you are late with a lot of your work, but then it's like C level, and then I have to drop it down to a D, because you're late, and then like, well, like, how do we work that? So just know that, just try to be as on time as you can, and then we can work it out. The more time I have time to critique, the more time you guys have to fix and make better. So we'll say that for sure. Oh wait, we got a chat here. I think we lost somebody here. No, okay. I think we're good. So we are at, I think we're, I don't know, 5:30. What time are we at? 5:39. So I don't know. I'm pretty much done with these demos. We looked at the clay. Unless someone has any other suggestions or any questions, I think that we could head off early today, just in terms of, I don't think there's anything else we can do until we all have our pipes and armatures. Are you guys?
Let's say we got through the first class, everybody.
Thank you, Patrick. We got through the first class. I appreciate you, bro. So so with that, unless you guys all have something else you want to share, King, are you all right over there? You're stoic. You're not moving. He's a sculpture. There he is. Oh, there he is. I see some arms moving. Right on. Ava, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. All right. So let's draw off right now. You guys can go get your dinners or whatever, wherever you guys are. Thank you so much. I apologize for this first week. It's always really difficult. So let's get working. So you guys all know, I think King, you said you might be 2 weeks on getting some of your equipment. Just email me if you have a hard time getting the stuff, and just let me know where you're at. Okay.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, right on. All right, you guys all take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
guys
you.
so much.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye.